What is up, friends? I want to thank you for stopping by. You got Sturkules here, coming at you with my NPDL Week 5 battle against Noah, aka Nutshack, and his Peoria Razorshell. If I do say so myself, Noah and I have a decently historic rivalry in the NPDL, being that we have both been around since the get-go. We've both been around since Season 1. We played multiple times in Season 1, and we've played quite a few times since then. I don't know the official record, but I would guess up until this point we're probably about 500. It seems like we split when we played season one, and it seems like every time we've played since then we've taken turns winning. Last time we played him was last season, week one, and he had a pretty big win on us. So we're looking to turn the tides and take a win back here. As you can see, we got some changes in life. I have shed my hair. I don't want things like hair being a distraction when I got more important things like Pokemon going on. Just kidding. It was just time. But I'm feeling ready. I'm feeling excited about this matchup. This is always a really fun one. So real quick, let's go ahead and look at our matchup here. He's got a few new mons. He made some moves. So I can't remember if he's out of moves or not, but the team he's got is very scary. Um, you don't see just a whole lot of bulk, just a whole lot of switch into things. But on the flip side, it's very hard to switch into his team because he has things that hit so hard. He has things that are big setup threats. This is not to say he doesn't have any bulk on his team, just not that would be a weakness I would see, as he's going to have trouble switching in on wall breakers. But scary team. Dragonite with Dragon Dance can just set up at any time, gets such good coverage on both sides. Gengar, huge special threat, great specs. Scarf user can set up with Nasty Plot, good speed tier. Scizor can be a defensive or offensive, great pivoter, just a ton of utility on top of you can just slap a choice band on top of it and just hit things hard with U-turn, bullet punch, and knockoff, and you don't need a whole lot else outside of that, but it does get Roost able to heal itself. Thunderness Incarnate, being one of his fastest mons, and once again, really big threat on his team. This thing can set up on either side. Yeah, it gets Nasty Plot and Bulk Up, which is a little scary. It gets some decent coverage on each side. Gets Prankster on top of Defiant, which I always forget it gets Defiant. I see it as a Prankster mon and forget about the other cool things it gets. Indeedee, another huge choice user threat. Having that Psychic Terrain is really big and really scary. And it just hits hard and gets really good coverage. I forgot to mention that on Gengar too. Well, with their special move pool, they can hit pretty much everything. With each of them having their dual stab, each of them having things like Dazzling Gleam. Gengar gets Thunderbolt and Focus Blast. It gets grass moves, I think. So they really just hit everything, and that is a problem when you're trying to switch in a defensive mon on it. So we're gonna have to figure out some ways around that. I'm scared of Quillfish. I'm mostly scared of it because within building, I kind of just, other than the fact that I have a Zeraora who can bop it, I think it's a mon that can be pretty hard to take down. It's very physically bulky, has better speed than you expect. It can be offensive, but I think it's really good defensive. Spikes, Toxic Spikes, Taunt, things like that. Destiny Bond are really cool on it. He really likes his Tauros. Tauros hits really hard with sheer force. Slap on a Life Orb can be a good choice user. It got Throat Chop on top of things like Earthquake, and does it get Mega Horn? There's something else that it gets for pretty good coverage. Oh, it gets Earthquake and Rock Slide, which are really nice. Sceptile, which is actually a big threat. I think I forget how good of physical coverage Sceptile gets, because you look at its stats, it's a better special attacker. You look at its Mega, it was a better special attacker. But with Swords Dance and the coverage it gets, it's a huge physical threat. With Unburden, it's a huge threat. And once again, in prep, this is just something I overlooked, the fact that he has Sceptile with an Indeedee, which means Psychic Seed, means he can just kind of go off. Now, luckily, I do have enough diversity that he is going to have to pick 3 out of 4 coverage moves needed, but I'm just going to say this up front. We've already played. I'm about to show you the replay, and I did not prep enough for Sceptile. That doesn't really give away what happens. It could have went either way at some certain points. He also has Machoke and Marowak. I actually did think Marowak would come. I really expected 4 of his first 5. Dragonite, Gengar, Scizor, Thundurus, and Indeedee for those 5, or maybe even all 5. But I thought Tauros and Marowak were some huge threats. Once again, should have prepped way more for Sceptile than I did. But Marowak is nice just because with a thick club, it actually does hit really hard and can still be ran with defensive EVs because of that thick club. And I thought it was a good way for him to switch into Zeraora, which is why you're going to see the set you see. And I wasn't worried about Machoke this matchup. So anyway, let's go ahead and hop in to what I had for him. Let's move this over. I changed this team a lot of times. A lot of times I'll come up with a build, might ask for some feedback from some friends on the build and maybe make a change or two. I feel like I changed my team a ton in prep this week. So anyway, go ahead and looking at the team. You can see we got Zeraora here. I'm not going to try to spend too much time on this, but we got Zeraora special this week because I do think things like Scizor and Quillfish like to take hits on the physical side, so I think just expecting him to have that, plus he does have Quillfish and Tauros, which can both have Intimidate. So I wanted to hit from the special side, but also to me it was very important for Grass Knot to be doing a lot of damage on Marowak. I actually initially had a bulk up set, Substitute, Bulk Up, Plasma Fists, and I can't even remember what the other move was. It may have just been something like Knockoff, and I thought I could kind of spam that. But the more I looked at Marowak, and I was like, this could be a problem if I don't have a way to hit it late game. So I did decide I wanted Grass Knot. Now the problem is with the EVs I've got, I'm going to outspeed everything up on his team past Thundurus. Not going to outspeed Sceptile, which kind of makes sense anyway, because 1, I'm not really going to hit Sceptile with my current set, but 2, if he pops the Unburden, then he's going to outspeed anyway. So I would just either try to predict and Volt Switch or have to probably sack something at that point. Up next we got Scrafty the Sokka. Sokka the Scrafty, let's say that, that's better. Looking at this, we have Knockoff, Drain Punch, Ice Punch, and Fire Punch. I actually initially had Assault Vest on this because I thought it would just switched in so well on Gengar and Indeedee, and that's when I remembered actually that they both get Dazzling Gleam. So I went ahead and ran Roselli Berry. I had to change up my EVs a lot. The Assault Vest Scrafty I was going to run was going to have a lot more attack and was going to hit a lot harder, but since I had to run these extra EVs and special defense with Roselli Berry to be able to live a Dazzling Gleam plus some other sort of stab hit, I wasn't going to be able to hit as hard, but a Knockoff still would have killed a bulky Gengar or Indeedee. Drain Punch for obvious stab and to hit. Super effective on a few things. Then I had Ice Punch for Dragonite, Fire Punch for Scizor, and then both of those luckily do hit Sceptile. That helps out a little bit. Kind of the heat of the week was the Gyarados set, who, by the way, I've renamed to Danger Kite. I named him a Zulongmon when I did my initial nicknames, because Digimon is awesome and he kind of looks like a Zulongmon. But I forgot I've used Gyarados before in like a little doubles tournament. Very short, just a fun thing between a few friends, and I named it Danger Kite there, and I think that's just funny and stupid, so I wanted to go with that. Had Heavy Duty Boots just in case, because you know what, I kept telling myself Marowak's got a pretty good matchup. Marowak can force some switches, so that would give opportunity to get up Stealth Rocks, and since this was kind of a big defensive answer to things like if he brought Quillfish and if he brought Scizor, we could kind of keep bringing it in. Really kind of even a decent switch for Tauros, depending on what he's got. There were a few things I almost ran. One was Charty Berry. That is to weaken Rock-type moves because Mons on his team do get good Rock-type moves. And then what else? I think I also maybe just even considered just Leftovers to get some health back, switching in on things. But yeah, Marowak was his only Rock setter, so I really almost didn't run Heavy Duty Boots, but I thought if he did bring that, I would hate myself for taking 25 damage every time I switch in. But you can see it's actually, it's kind of defensive because it is max HP and it does have Intimidate and it is Heavy Duty Boots to not take that damage. But we're actually we're plus special attack minus speed, and we are all in EVs on special attack. Scald, Ice Beam, and Flamethrower hit a lot of his team really well. Crunch still hits Gengar or Indeedee pretty hard on a switch. You can see we don't have a minus attack nature, so it's still hitting hard. Scald was just for a little bit of stab damage, but there were a few things like Tauros and Dragonite on his team, and even something like a Sceptile on a switch that I wouldn't mind burning. Same with Scizor. But I had Ice Beam for Dragonite and Thundurus on switches, and Flamethrower because, like I said, this was my switch in to a U-turn or a Bullet Punch from Scizor. I figured Scizor would come because Bullet Punch is so good on Nihilego, and it's so good on something like Togekiss, and really just a lot of my team. And so this was kind of going to be a switch I could do each time, and then if I thought he wouldn't switch, I could click Flamethrower. I think it would have caught him off guard. And I ran actually earlier in the season Fire Blast with a Dragon Dance set for a Ferrothorn, so I figured even if I clicked Flamethrower, he might not know right away that I had Special Investment, and on a switch could have made another prediction. Anyway, I thought it was a fun set. We'll see how much I actually get to use it. Ursula Major with Assault Vest is just awesome. 2 weeks in a row, I'm running it. You can see it's got enough HP basically just to add a little extra bulk, but we put a ton of our effort values into special defense to get us up to, I think that got us up to like 340 special defense. Then with an Assault Vest, it took us over 500. Made us able to take hits really well, including expanding force from Ndidi, which is really cool, even if it was specs, because of Assault Vest we would have lived. Speed was enough speed to outspeed Dragonite, and then special attack, since we were Modest Nature, was still our highest stat. So even though it was Assault Vest to take some hits, even though we got a lot of speed, if we were to pick up a kill, special attack is still what we'd get the Beast Boost on. You can go a lot of ways. You could make its speed or its special defense get a boost, and that's always viable, but just I've ran special attack boost so far this season. We got Sandaconda with the leftovers. I changed this item a lot. I had Rocky Helmet at one point, realized I would rather get some health back. I almost wanted to run Sandspit to give Ursula Major even more, Nihilego even more of a special defense boost with Sandstorm, but I figured it would also be chipping my team. So I decided to run Shed Skin in case it got burned or paralyzed or something, or burnt or poisoned or something. But anyway, a lot of HP, a lot of defense, little attack, little speed, basically. That 8 attack actually did do something. It's kind of funny how sometimes such little EVs can do something, but basically it guaranteed that Rock Tomb would always break a max health Dragonite substitute, if I'm remembering right. So I was scared of a sub Dragon Dance set on Dragonite, so I figured here I could Rock Tomb, break it. If he decides to try to attack, then I could click Glare and paralyze him. Could get Rocks up potentially, and then Earthquake just hits his team pretty hard because Sandaconda does have a good base attack. I also wanted to run a cool red card set to keep something from, but I don't want to give the full set away in case I run something like that later this season. But I considered that item as well, but I decided leftovers was the best. And lastly, I've talked for too long. We'll hop into this battle here real quick. I got Cinccino, not 2, not 3, not 4. The Skill Link Choice Scarf User. And this was once again just because something like Dragonite gets up to +1, it's a problem. Something like Gengar or Thundurus is scarfed, that's a problem. This Choice Scarf will outspeed all those things. And this just all around hits his team pretty well. Now if he did have Scizor, we'd want to knock off or U-turn out of there. But Tail Slap just hits a lot of his team. That's some stab damage that does a lot. Knockoff hits Gengar, knockoff hits Ndidi. Triple Axle is for his Dragonite and his Thundurus. And then, like I said, if we don't think something's coming in, we can predict and U-turn, try to get some momentum. That's the team. Let me pull up this battle and we'll hop on into things. Alright, here's the battle. We will go ahead and I'll try not to pause this too much, but there are going to be times where I want to kind of say what my play is, so hopefully we got some pretty okay frame rate going on here. So looking at his team, picking a lead was actually pretty tough, just because I felt like a lot of things on my team were like specific switches in mind, and Zeraora, I didn't really want to give too much away too early because I did want him to think I was a physical set, because that is kind of a standard thing that you see. I mean, it's great mixed either way, but anyway, I didn't want to give too much away. So I decided I could go Sandaconda early, try to get up rocks, or I could go Cinccino. And I decided I liked Cinccino because I could either just U-turn or hit something pretty hard from the get-go. And we're going to see he actually leads off with Dragonite, so I don't want to overthink this. I don't really want to U-turn because if he does Dragon Dance turn 1, people have been known to set up turn 1, and that could just wreck me right there. That could be really scary, so I don't want to let that happen right away. Don't want to tail slap because Gengar could come in. I could knock off, which actually wouldn't be the worst play, but then I kind of become setup fodder from there. So I kind of just have to do what I have to do and click triple axle. Maybe he'll not think about me having it. Click triple axle. We're going to get all 3 hits onto his Tauros. There we see 40% damage, so I'm just going to switch into Sandaconda. Pretty safe right there, and I can get some leftovers back, and we see I haven't taken a whole lot of damage there. And here I'm at a really good point where I can just click Glare on pretty much anything. Now, obviously if Tornadus comes in, I don't believe an electric type can ever be paralyzed by Glare. But the other 5 of his 6 Mons that could come in could get paralyzed, and nothing on his team wants to get paralyzed because he has a fast and offensive team this week. So I'm going to go ahead and click Glare. He goes in with his Dragonite, and we see he's Lumberry. Not surprised, great bring. So I got to play some mind games here. Do I click Glare again, just in case he subs up? I click Rock Tomb. And that also is nice because that does lower his speed back to normal. Now, we're obviously not going to outspeed it with Sandaconda, but for something else later, now he's not just constantly stacking his speed. I had Rock Blast initially, decided to go with Rock Tomb. Glad I did. So from here, I'm thinking he's probably going to attack or Dragon Dance again. So I am going to go ahead and just click Glare. So he throws off a Blizzard and misses, which is unfortunate. Now, I believe if he was a attack set with just neutral special attack, I would have lived a Blizzard, even if that had hit. So we're able to get off a Glare, and he actually does get paralyzed on the switch, which is pretty unfortunate. He didn't say what he clicked. I'm guessing he was probably clicking Blizzard again, even though I knew it was likely coming. So we're able to get an early KO with Nihilego, and we're also going to get our Beast Boost up. This is actually a pretty good situation here. Now, normally I would want to switch, not wanting to take a super effective move. And if he's Psyshock, he could do a ton of damage here. And I didn't even calc, because Psyshock possibly would have KO'd. But I assumed he was probably going to come in and click Expanding Force, and I assumed he was probably Choice Scarfed with how quickly he brought this in. And looking at the calc, I knew I would take like 50 to 60-ish damage, which is really cool for a super effective move. Expanding Force is extremely powerful in terrain. So I know I can live that. So I could click a really powerful move here. I could switch in. I actually did consider going straight into Scrafty here, which could have been a cool play. But the more I thought about it, I have knockoff, and I'm like, I can just get rid of this thing's Choice Scarf right here if it is Scarfed. If it's not, I'm going to hit first. So I'm going to go ahead and stay in. I'm going to let him hit me. Our Assault Vest lets us live that hit, and we do click knockoff. So now we're going to pick up a kill pretty much. Anything he wants to switch in, I don't think anything coming in could have lived that power gem. So we just knew we were picking up a second kill 100% of the time. Now he does have a lot of his team that's faster than this, so we can't continue to stay in. So we go Gyarados to get off an Intimidate, hoping that he is going to Earthquake. And I think I did this so quick here, I'm not sure if I even calced to see. There's a chance that Body Slam could have killed just because Nihilego's defense is really low. But I'm guessing he calced, and there's probably a reason he clicked Earthquake. So anyway, we go ahead and go into our Gyarados on the switch. We click Scald to see if we can snag a burn. I actually did kind of want to click Ice Beam, but I was like, I don't know if he's actually going to switch here, because I didn't know he was Scarfed with Tauros yet, which we found out after the game he was. So I'm like, hey, there's really no downside here to clicking Scald. It's actually some pretty decent damage. We see he's leftovers. I want to switch because he's an electric type. He does not click an electric type move. He clicks Bulk Up. This is actually really scary. I did not put enough thought into the fact that this thing had Defiant, and I had two Intimidate users that would have lowered his attack and then also boosted it by 2 stages. So that could have been scary. But I go Zeraora, and I considered clicking Calm Mind here, but I was thinking if he did something like Superpower, I think he had like a super small chance to kill. With my EVs and HP, I had a really good chance to live, but I didn't want to risk it. Because of the magnet, I think almost all the time, if not all the time, a Thunderbolt would kill here. Thought that would catch him off guard. He was probably expecting a Plasma Fist or something like that. Now I want to get on out of here, and we have enough that once again, because of the magnet as long as he wasn't a bulky set. If he was speedy, which him being Choice Scarf, he was. Volt Switch always killed there. So now here is where a mistake is made by me. So I knew I was switching my Gyarados in before he'd bring something in because of the kill. So he gets to pick what comes in. Obviously, he's going to want to go into Sceptile here, and Unburdened Sceptile's looking great. Like at this point, I have 6 Mons left. He's got 2, and that Tauros is weakened. But I'm actually really scared I'm going to get reverse swept here. So I go here because I think whatever he brings in, I'm going to intimidate, right? Because if this is a special Sceptile, I don't have to worry. I have plenty of things that can take this. If this is a Swords Dance Sceptile, I'm in a little bit of trouble. I'm going to have to do some intimidate things to be able to live hits. And what I didn't know is since he came in second, there was no intimidation. I figured it would get an intimidate, so my plan was for Gyarados to, because if I'd known that intimidate didn't work here, I would have just went straight into Scrafty. On his incoming Swords Dance here, I could have attacked, then maybe went Gyarados and cycled. I don't know. But going Gyarados, I thought I'd get an attack drop right away. I learned something new today. You don't get the attack drop, I guess, if you go in first like that. Though if we both would have started off the battle like that, I would have gotten... So I don't know. I just didn't understand quite how that mechanic worked. I guess I haven't used as much Intimidate in the past. So, but here I am going to get Intimidate as he does Swords Dance. So now that's a little bit scary. Since his Unburdened did pop, he absolutely outspeeds anything on my team. And really he would anyway, because once again, I'm not running enough speed on Zeraora to be able to outspeed this. So this is a little bit of a problem. I'm looking at my team, and it's really going to come down to what moves does he have. He's obviously going to have Leaf Blade, just for that stab damage to be able to hit Sandaconda. So from there, moves it can get. I'm looking it up, and I realize, holy cow, this thing can get Acrobatics. Because at first I'm like, hey, I think Sokka's going to wall any hit here, whether it is Leaf Blade, Earthquake, something like that, right? He gets Acrobatics. He also gets Rock Slide. But because of Swords Dance, he can only have 3 of those. We think he's probably going to have the Stab Grass. So now Earthquake seems like it's kind of a no-brainer since I do have Nihilego. So that last move, is it Rock Slide or is it Acrobatics? At this point, I'm thinking, I think I'm about to get reverse swept here and lose a 2-0. So let's see what he's got. He clicks Swords Dance. We click Fire Punch. Now at this point, I'm kind of debating, like, there was a part of me that was like, do I go Gyarados and try to lower his attack again, and do I keep cycling? But then he can just keep clicking Swords Dance. That's scary, so I figure I've got to keep the pressure on here. Basically, I've got to hope he has Acrobatics. And then if he does, I'm thinking maybe if I go I've got to hope that he's got Rock Slide over Acrobatics. Because I live a Leaf Blade 100% of the time with my EVs. The max he can do is like 97% unless he gets a crit. But if he were to kill here with Acrobatics, then I'd go Gyarados, lower his attack down to 2+. Hope we can live a Leaf Blade. I hadn't even calced at that point because I wasn't even going to calc till we got there. Because if he had Acrobatics, he couldn't have Rock Slide. But we see he's got Leaf Blade, so he does not have Acrobatics. We're able to kill with Fire Punch. Tauros is going to come in. We could have gotten a 6-0 here. We could have went straight to Sandaconda and just won. But at this point, like, I was nervous. I was just relieved that I wasn't getting swept. So I'm like, let's just not make any stupid plays here. Let's not sacrifice. I could have probably went Gyarados and then this. And then 6-0'd, but I figured, you know what? I know Sandaconda can 1v1 this. I just let Scrafty die. I went into Snack Pillow, and I won the game. So I just wanted to make sure, like, in the heat of the moment, you're always scared, like, what if I make this one dumb play and I mess everything up? No. I'm okay with a 5-0. I don't need to be greedy for a 6-0. And then not only is there always a chance, like, do you blow it, but even just, like, what if I try to go for a 6-0, make a mess up, and only get a 3-0 or a 4-0? I'd rather just get that safe 5-0. That's what we did. Really good game, Noah. This was absolutely terrifying. Like I said, your team, super hard to prep for just because, like, look at that squad. There's an Unburden user, a Dragon Dance user, 2 potential Nasty Plot users, an Expanding Force, Psychic Terrain user, and Tauros, who just likes to click buttons with Life Orb. He actually had 3 Scarfers, which I did not see coming when I looked at his post-game team, so that was pretty cool. He said he felt like he put in a little bit too much work for Togekiss. I told him I felt his pain because I felt like I put too much work in for Scizor. and neither of those came. So that was pretty wild. But yeah, that Sceptile was almost the death of me. This is why when you're looking at someone's team, look at every option. Don't ever just say, I don't think Sceptile has a great matchup. Especially like I was just too lazy to look at and remember like this thing gets so many coverage moves. And then there's another part of me that's like, but it's got to click Swords Dance to be able to win anyway. But I just didn't have the right stuff to Oko it, so it wouldn't have mattered. So anyway, very close to getting reverse swept there. Would have had a 2-0 loss, but instead we come out with a 1-0 win, and I am extremely happy with that. That actually does put us up to 5-0 on the season, which is really exciting. Real quick, wanted to look at the standings here and then maybe take one quick look at our stats. But as you can see, has this listed at 4-0 plus 13. Once this match is put in, we'll actually be at 5-0 plus 18, so we will be at the top of the Deluge division. That might not last for very long, so I'm going to enjoy being on top while I can, because leading a division is not something I've done much in my draft league career. And with my next upcoming weeks, I've got how tough some of these battles are going to be. I'm not expecting to be up there for that long, so I'm just going to enjoy it while I can, even though technically I'm not there right now. I am. A few of the matches aren't put in yet. That's no biggie. But you can see things are spicing up. We got some guys playing really well, and we got a lot of guys who are right there in the thick of things. This is week 5 is done. We've got 6 more weeks to go still. There's a lot of turnaround to be made for each team. Really, no one's technically out of it when we're still not even quite halfway through the season. Basically, what we're looking at is by the end of 11 weeks, each team that is in the green in their division, the top 2 spots, it gets an auto bid to the playoffs. And then the next, I think, 4 best records are going to be taken as wild cards, and they're going to play a play-in game to make the rest of the playoff bracket, and then we'll have it filled out with 8 coaches. And then I think from there, everyone maybe gets reseeded based off of record, if I'm remembering right. I think that's how it's going. So anyway, as of right now, if the playoffs ended today, we would be a top 2 seed in the playoffs. That's not, if I'm being honest, I don't want to sit here and down myself, but if I'm being honest, that's not where I expect to end up. I'm not expecting to get an undefeated season. I'm not expecting to be top in the division and get that top seed. But you know what? The road to playoffs is looking good. That's what I'm really focused on. If you remember at the start of the season, I said my goal was to go 7-4. Right now we're 5-0. That's a good start to 7-4. I got to go 2-4 the rest of the year, and it's doable. But actually, it's hard because we got some crazy hard matches. We're just gonna take it a week at a time and try to beat whoever's in front of us. That's how you got to go about it when you got so many good coaches. But this is what the league is currently looking at. So I guess real quick we could go to my homepage. I could show you stats and who I'm playing next, depending on if we can see this. So stats have not full on been put in, but I can just tell you right now, Zeraora in the 4 games it's been brought is 10 kills and 0 deaths. You love to see that. I would love to see how long I can go without Zeraora dying. I say that it's probably going to die next match without getting a kill because I'm bragging about it. But I'm just very in love. It's been a very fun mon to use. Already becoming one of my favorite draft league mons ever. Didn't bring Togekiss. Gyarados did not get a kill this week. Nihilego got 2 more kills, and a few weeks ago it could have snagged a few more kills, but Nihilego was not clutch enough to get that roll. Bronzong didn't come. Cinccino did not get a kill. Sandaconda and Scrafty picked up a kill each, so that's pretty cool. So really am loving the team. There's the full team. I'm having a blast so far with the team. I think still have 2 free agent moves I can make at some point if I do want to, and I do need to look at my coming up matches. There might be a move that's advantageous, but right now I'm loving where the team's at. We've obviously got weaknesses, as does every team, but I'm having fun with it. If you can see here, there's a little block on the screen. If you can see this, our next match, we played the Razorshell, is going to be against Cole. Las Vegas Cinderaces. Okay, so that's something I should probably pull up real quick. So we've got our league schedule here. Week 6, Cole, our commish made Week 6 rivalry week. Let's look at that real quick. Can we kind of see that? Okay. So my face is kind of in the way. That's okay. We'll go to the top here. We got rivalry week. Week 6, San Francisco Garchomps versus Washington Alakazams. That's Magnus and Henrik, our two Norwegian sensations. They're best friends, so that's going to be exciting. We got a lot of our Minnesota matches, Chicago Bearticks and Morpeko Chargers. That's Prisley and Yeezus, two of the Minnesota guys, good friends. Always have some really good matches. We got me and Cole, Utah Copperajazz versus Las Vegas Cinder Aces. That's going to be a fun one. Funny thing, he's a Utah Jazz fan, and I just happen to have. I'm not a Utah Jazz fan. I just like Copperajazz, so I wanted to make that my mascot. So rivalry week, he and I have had a lot of good games in the past. He almost always wins, unless it's the TPA Season 1 championship game. But yeah, he's kind of had my number. But great friend, great guy. Really excited to play him rivalry week. We got Motostoke Overdrive Gold Sound versus Bendelin and the Anaheim Psyducks. Another of our awesome Minnesota matches, and both of them are going to be looking to get on the win board, so that's going to be cool. The one that wasn't necessarily a rivalry yet is Connor and the Boston Bidoof and Noah and the Razorshell. And so, you know, you guys need to start talking some trash. Get this rivalry going, okay? I'm expecting that'd be really funny if during rivalry week the two guys who are like, are we really rivals? Like if they just had this awesome, amazing game that like got everyone super pumped about this budding rivalry. Maryland Odyshes is Daniel and California Clobbopus is Ball. These guys are brothers in real life, not even brothers like close friends. They are related to each other. If that's not a rivalry, I don't know what is. Keeping it within the family, Ty and his Houston Hacks against Cooper and the Federal Bureau of Intelligence. Some draft league beasts, if you ever see them and they're related, they're cousins. They've had some super fun matches in the past, so you know this is going to be fun. You got Alec and his Regional Bird against Pereira and his Winnipeg Weaviles. The last of the Minnesota matches, man, we got a lot of Minnesota guys in our league, and this is going to be a really good one. Pereira's new to the league, but he's played well. Alex coming off a playoff bid and trying to get back there. And then lastly, we got two newcomers to the league, two friends of mine that I think are really great guys, Zach and BB, a.k.a. Ben, the other Ben. And these are two guys who actually go to college together and are like best friends. So we got quite the rivalry week coming. I wasn't planning to talk about that, but I realized what this was, so we had to go over it. So going to be really fun. Week 6 is going to be a blast. Can't wait for that. I'll put up my video. If the rivalry week's good enough, maybe I will even try to do a quick commentary of their matches. You know how I am. I forget. But it's going to be fun. Anyway, I've talked for too long. Most of y'all probably tabbed out by now. Tired of hearing your boy's voice. But I'm going to hop on out of here. Please have yourself a great night. Peace.